I'm currently surviving alone for 8 days across 4 of Australia's most extreme environments. The plan is to spend 2 nights in each location with no food, water or shelter before moving on to the next. In part 1, I trekked deep into the rainforest, built a primitive bed, hunted and cooked my own food, and shared the jungle with dozens of creatures that could kill me. I then moved to the remote shark pools, spearfishing beside hundreds of deadly juvenile bull sharks. But this challenge only gets tougher as we go, because how it works is each location is harsher than the last. Now I'm heading into the brutal Australian outback and the freezing snowy mountains. Let's get into it. Alright, so for the next 2 days, I'm going to be surviving by myself here in the outback. This is seriously one of the harshest environments to survive in this country, and we're going to be doing it with very limited resources. Like the other 2 locations that I chose to survive in, the rainforest and the mangroves, the reason why I chose this particular area of the outback is because it's the most densely populated part of the outback with animals that I've ever explored, and you can hear them at the moment going off. The reason why there's so many birds around here is because just over to the left of me is a massive water source, which is not only where we're going to be collecting water from and boiling it over the next couple days, but it's going to be my main source of food as well. We're going to have to try and catch a few crayfish and potentially even fish out of this place. So crazy. Now I could name several species of venomous snakes that could kill me out here, and I will. Death adders, king brown snakes, eastern brown snakes, all highly venomous species of venomous snakes that live right here. And if I'm bitten in a place as remote as this, we're not making it out alive. But I reckon we continue exploring this place and see if we can find a good place to not only try and catch some food, but set up camp for the next 48 hours. The most venomous snake on the planet is the inland taipan, also known as the fierce snake. Just a single drop of its venom is powerful enough to kill over 200,000 mice. And believe it or not, this isn't some distant story. It lives right here in the harsh, remote Australian outback. And while filming a previous 3-day survival adventure, sleeping in remote caves and living alongside some of Australia's most iconic animals, I managed to track one down just hours away from where we're surviving right now. More venomous than a king cobra, more potent than a black mamba. And out here, in a place this isolated, a single bite isn't just dangerous, it's a death sentence. Take a look at this big fella, the remains of a big freshwater turtle. My guess is that even a big body of water like this, being in such a harsh environment and an unpredictable environment, there can be year-long droughts out here. So water sources like this dry up, and obviously the animals living in it suffer the consequences. I found several turtle shells in this little walk that I've done already, but it means that there is life living in this dam. So hopefully we can catch something for dinner. Look at the size of these cacti. There's a whole big patch of them. They're actually an invasive species to this area, and some of them are absolutely giant. A lot of them are flowering at the moment as well. Even though they are invasive, I must say it's pretty impressive to see cacti so big. You know, walking up the side of this dam, it's like a graveyard. Animal bones everywhere. Different species as well. Like, I understand the turtles, but there's been so many different types of animals, really makes you wonder how they died. Lots of predatory species that'd be living in this area as well. So crazy that this place doesn't get much rain throughout the year, and yet it looks like there's a massive storm rolling in. It's exciting, but it means that we'll have to find a place with shelter tonight that we can sleep without getting drenched. But this part of the dam looks real good. I reckon we try to catch some bait in the shallows, maybe some little crayfish, get them out there and see if we can catch some lunch first up in the morning. Now, to help me on this survival challenge, I've only bought one other item out here. Along with the other things that I bought to the rainforest and the mangroves, I've bought a pot to boil water in, because you're not surviving in temperatures as hot as this without drinking at least a few liters of water every day. With all this rain, we might not even have to use it. You know, I somewhat expected this in the rainforest, but not out here in the outback. But the animals will be loving it out here, especially later on tonight. So the rain's just stopped. We've got the line out in the water waiting to hook up to a fish. And I was wondering why these little willy wagtail birds kept swooping me. You can hear them sitting up on these sticks right here. And I was so focused on the storm, I didn't even realize to look up. And right above my head is this. Literally 3 or 4 baby birds sitting in this tree just above my head. We're gonna move a bit further down the bank so we don't disturb them, but how cool is that? 2 big brolgas, a pair of them, a male and a female, and alongside them is probably the most iconic animal here in Australia, big storm. You know, we probably actually have to find a place to take shelter. There's kangaroos everywhere and we're surrounded by lightning. Are you kidding me? All right, it's turned from something pretty cool to see in the outback, this much rain, to a serious thunderstorm with lightning striking all around me. There's some big trees here, so we're gonna try and find a place, a dry place that we can camp for the night. Oh, this is crazy. So all my clothes, all my camera gear, my backpack and everything got completely soaked. Luckily, I'd packed this spare jumper and these shorts in a dry bag just in case I ended up getting wet. But have a go at this. You can see the storm's moved on over that way and we're left with this beautiful afternoon. Pretty wild start to the first day here in the outback. I'm gonna make a fire, set up camp for the night. It's been a really big day. We're gonna conserve energy, wake up tomorrow, try and catch food and go for a night walk tomorrow night. Try and find some deadly animals. Alright, it's day 2 out here in the outback. Pretty rough sleep, which is not what we needed. We didn't catch any food yesterday. Rained on so much. The only positive thing is my clothes are mostly dry. I need to catch food today if we're gonna get through the rest of this challenge. Although this has definitely been the hardest place to survive so far, the area that we're heading tomorrow is gonna be pretty wild, to say the least. It's super hard in this murky water to do so because you can't really hunt anything. One thing that I have noticed is that there's a lot of red claw crayfish sitting in the shallow area. So I think even if I end up getting clawed by a few of them, I'm gonna get in there, take my shoes off and see if I can catch a couple for breakfast. Have a go at this. Big wild dog tracks leading down to the dam. The kind of unnerving thing is it rained so heavily yesterday that it cleared all of the tracks that were previously in the ground. So this wild dog has actually ventured down here either last night or early in the morning. Let's follow him and see where they go. So I was camped in the bush about 15 meters over that way and I've tracked this wild dog to this point right here. So it was sitting there looking at me while I was sleeping on the floor last night, which is pretty scary. Crayfish right there. Oh, look at that. Well, nothing crazy, but that's a start. Right there, got him. There we go. They're getting a little bit bigger. Chuck them with the other fella. Oh, big crayfish just under this log. This is the size that we were looking for. Look at that. That is a big fella. All right, mate. boil some of this delicious water. Alright, now that the fire's died down to coals, chuck these crayfish on. Crayfish are cooking up, super hungry and keen to eat them right now. It's been pretty cool surviving in all of these different climates because the species that we're cooking up and looking for are all different, and there's different ways you go about finding them. I think because of all the rain that we got yesterday, the dam has actually risen about a foot, so all of these crayfish are coming up and hunting in the shallow water. So even though we were super wet and uncomfortable last night, I think that's the reason why we're eating food right now, because of all that rain. Let's flip them over. Boil that water up. Alright, and that's the first meal that we've managed to catch out here in the outback. Let's start with the big fella. Let's chuck it out. Alright, we're getting a run. On that crayfish that we caught before, we've got about 4 or 5 baits, and let's see if we can catch something even bigger. Yep, there we go. That feels bigger. That's a good fish. That is a good fish. No way! Look at this carp right here. Possibly the worst tasting fish ever, but it is massive. Look at this. Come on. Yes. Look at that. Massive carp. Now legally, we can't actually release this fish. It's an introduced species here in Australia, and even though they taste like mud, I think we're gonna cook it up and eat some of it for dinner. The last thing I wanna be doing is eating this fish because they taste so bad. But if we wanna complete this challenge, tomorrow we're heading to a place that's even harsher than this. So cool to get him on the hand line, on a crayfish that I caught with my hands. Let's see if we can catch a true giant in the middle of this dam, in the middle of the outback. All right, let's got him. All right. I think that's good. Let's chuck it on the fire. It's a funny thing because I just set up camp in this place next to this bush. Looked like a really good place to camp for the night. And this guy was living in a bush right next to where I'm gonna be sleeping. Such a crazy looking creature, and not a creature that you wanna get bitten by any means. There's species that are a lot more venomous than this, like the death adder, like the eastern brown. And this species bite is more painful than a lot of the highly venomous snakes out here. Yet another species that could end this challenge, but a pretty cool one at that. See you later, mate. So today was really about conserving energy, trying to catch food and getting ready for tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to be driving down south, heading to the snow, and this is going to be my first time ever being in this environment, just exploring it, let alone surviving in it. Done lots of research over the past couple weeks to make this challenge possible, and we've got this far. We're going to cook up this carp, survive tonight, and this time tomorrow I'll be surviving in the harshest environment that we have here in Australia. It's gonna be crazy. Looks good. Perfect. I'm living alongside some of the world's most venomous species, and hopefully after dark we'll be able to track some down. The habitat that we're walking through right now is the ideal habitat for the fastest striking snake and one of the most venomous snakes on earth, the death adder. And it's a snake that I've found in this part of the outback before. It's going to be pretty difficult to track one of them down as they're one of the most camouflaged species that I've ever come across. But I reckon we should be able to find some other cool animals soon. Little bandy, when they get moving this fast, puts you into a bit of a trance. First species of snake. And take a look at this big fella just down here, the echidna, one of the coolest and weirdest species that's native to this part of Australia. And you can see what he's doing right now is he's actually burying himself in the floor. So, you know, there's lots of wild dogs out in this area. If he was to get attacked by a wild dog, this is his defense mechanism. Burying himself into the floor and showing that wild dog these spikes. Obviously not the species that we're looking for, but a good start. Bit of a quick night walk tonight. We're gonna head back to camp, get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow we wake up and head to the snow. Feeling pretty rough this morning. Final morning out here in the outback. We're gonna hike out of this place, get back to my car and start driving to the snow. Final location that we're gonna survive in this 8-day challenge. All right, everyone, so for the next 48 hours, I'm gonna be surviving by myself in what could be the most challenging place to survive in this country, Australia's snowy mountains. This is shaping up to be one of the most challenging survival adventures to date. And believe it or not, this right now is my first time ever seeing snow. And for the next 2 days, we're gonna be surviving in it. Let's go. This is actually such a wild place to be exploring for the next few days. And where we're actually headed at the moment, over this valley, there's a big river that we're gonna be heading to and setting up camp later on today. The thing is, to get to that river, we need to hike all the way up over this big snow-covered mountain. We're gonna make it up to the top, hike back down the other side, and that's where we're actually gonna be building a shelter made from snow, and we're gonna be sleeping in it for the next few days. Should be pretty cool. So let's start hiking up over this hill, make it to the other side. But it's a lot easier said than done. It's actually so much more challenging than I first anticipated, but I wouldn't have it any other way. First time here in the snow, it's already starting off to be a pretty wild adventure. We made it up, we're on top of the mountain. Take a look at this, these huge rocky cliffs. Let's check them out. A couple days ago, when it was a bit warmer, this would have been running water, running down these rocks right here. But it's gotten so cold over the past couple days that they've actually frozen, but they're thawing at the moment. It's very dangerous to stand underneath them. Let's find a place to set up camp. So I was just hiking down this little valley right here, and can you hear this? That's flowing water beneath all this snow. Because we had about a foot of snowfall last night, it's covering up all the streams, which is something that you have to be extremely careful of, but it means that there might be flowing water just down here somewhere. Look at this. We made it down to the river and it's absolutely covered in snow. That's so cool. Oh. My foot just got completely saturated. I just warned you not to do that. And look where it fell into. I've only got a few items that I thought would be essential to bring out here to help me survive, and the first one could be the most important. So I've got a pot that's gonna help me boil some snow. It's high elevation, so I'm gonna dehydrate much quicker than I would in a place like the rainforest. We've also got a trail camera, a motion activated trail camera. Although we haven't seen any animals yet so far, there's evidence everywhere in the snow that there's a lot of different species that call this place home. Deer, wombats, emus, kangaroos, so many different species that are living out here. And we've got a couple of trail cameras that we're going to set up in different locations each night. The other way that we're going to be trying to find animals is with this, because I think a lot of the species that do live out here are nocturnal and come out after dark. To help me sleep out here tonight, I'm going to be laying on this tarp. Got a sleeping bag as well. It's supposed to get down to about -5 degrees later on tonight. So once we build that shelter, we're going to be decking it out with a tarp and a sleeping bag to help me get a bit of a better sleep while we're out here in these harsh conditions. We're gonna keep hiking, try find a place to set up camp, and maybe even try catch some dinner as well. And after hours of trekking through some of the craziest terrain I've ever been in my life, we've made it to the place that we're gonna be camping tonight. And we're right next to this big flowing river. So cool. All of this snow melting off the mountains straight into this place, which means this river is gonna be freezing. I reckon at some point, probably gonna need to have a bit of a shower, a bit of a wash off in this river, but not right now. It's so cold. So pretty much the idea for this survival shelter is over the next few hours, we're gonna be stacking up about 4 foot of snow, backing up onto this bank right here. And what we have to do after we've got enough snow here is let these particles set for a couple of hours, because we've collected it from all different areas around this little snow hill right here. It's all separate pieces of snow. And pretty much what we want is for all these particles to fuse together so that we can carve it out later on. Probably about 3 times as much snow as we've already collected, and it'll be good to start digging out. As much as this is pretty laboring and hard work to build this shelter, I'm gonna need something like this tonight with a fire out the front for me to actually stay warm. And these areas up here in these mountains, the weather can change super quick. So if a blizzard comes through, you're stuck in like a whiteout snowstorm, I'll be grateful that I built this. Either way, it's gonna be cool to camp in here later on. Day 1 out here in the snowy mountains, and we've got the start of a shelter. Let's wait a couple hours, come back and finish it off. All right, we've left the shelter for a few hours and it's ready to start carving out the center where I'm gonna be laying tonight. All right. I can't believe I'm gonna be sleeping in that tonight. Take a look at the inside though. It goes all the way back, and we're continuing to clean it all out. And you can see we're about this far back at the moment. We've still got a bit of digging ahead of us. The thing is, the further it gets back, the harder it is to actually bring the snow back out. The sun goes down in about 2 hours time, so we've still got time. After hours and hours of building, we have our little snow shelter for tonight. It's so hard to light this fire out here. We need to get it going because I'm so far away from where I'm gonna get picked up in about a day and a half's time, and I need fire for tonight, but for the next 2 days as well. Let's keep going. This has been one of the biggest days I've ever had filming a video out in the wild, and we got a fire going out here in the snow. So what we need to do now is go to a place where there's some fresh snow and fill up the little pot that we brought out here with us. Fire right there, shelter right there, and we're about to have the first drink of this survival challenge. This is my first time surviving in the snow, and already, even after being here for a day, I'd say that it's probably the harshest place that I've ever survived in. I haven't even stayed here one night. Everything just takes longer. Trekking to where you need to go takes longer because you're walking through knee-deep snow, and plus your body just moves slower when you're in the cold. All right, I think it's good. Let's check it. Yeah, there we go, steaming. We're gonna keep this fire going all night, maybe even throughout tomorrow as well, if we can collect enough sticks from around this area. But I am super thirsty. I haven't had anything to drink all day. As tempting as it was to just eat some snow off the floor, probably not the best idea. So good. The sun's just setting over this ridge behind us right here. We've got shelter, we've got fire, we've got water. We were unable to catch food today, which is all right. Maybe we can go for a bit of a hunt around this area, see if we can find anything tomorrow. But what I'm really excited for is tomorrow night. We're gonna be going for a night walk throughout this crazy terrain and seeing what animals are living here in the snow with me. But I think I'm gonna watch the sunset, get the top and sleeping bag out, keep this fire going, and get an early night's sleep. The temp's dropping super quick out here. It's supposed to get to -5 degrees Celsius tonight. It's been a really big day. I need to get an early night's sleep tonight. And final touches before I can finally dry my shoes off in front of the fire is to chuck this sleeping bag in. I do have enough firewood to last me into the morning, so even if I don't use it all tonight, we'll burn it throughout tomorrow and tomorrow night as well. Because we're not moving camp. We spent too long building this shelter. Oh, how good is that? All right, let's dry my feet off. Got the pile of wood right next to me. If I keep stacking this fire up, my shoes should be mostly dry by the morning. My body is so exhausted after the first day of this challenge. We still have another 36 hours to go. So it's going to be interesting to see how I hold up towards the end of this one. I'm enjoying laying under the stars and sitting by the fire at the moment. But if the wind picks up or a blizzard comes through, there's another foot of space that I cleared out at the end of this little shelter that will allow me to actually go fully in it and be covered from the elements, which is pretty cool. And that's it for day one. We'll see you in the morning for the second half of this survival challenge. All right, I've been up for about an hour. You can see the sun coming up just over there. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning at the moment. Apart from waking up a few hours ago, we actually had a relatively good sleep last night. We're camping out here on the floor in the snow. Got to bed super quick and slept for most of the night, which is good. I created this shelter long enough so that I have the ability to go all the way back inside like this. So I am covered from the elements, which is pretty cool. But honestly, if the weather's good, I'm gonna be out here at the front like this, looking up at the sky. Shoes dried out while the fire was still going last night. We're gonna be hiking down to the river today and doing a bit of exploring for our big night walk tonight and our hike out of this place tomorrow morning. Let's get the fire going, warm up, and start heading down towards the river. Well, that's a cool way to start a fire. There was still a few hot embers in the bottom of this little fire pit, even though it went out earlier this morning. And if you actually blow on the embers and create a bit of a tinder bundle, you can get your fire going again. So cool, haven't done that in a while. All right, it's warming up a little bit and we're nearly down at the river. We're gonna check it out, see if there's any fish in there that we could possibly catch in a primitive fish trap. But if not, probably won't be eating during this survival challenge, which is all right, it's 2 days. That is so cold. What a beautiful day. And seeing as this river that's flowing, it's getting filtered through the mountains and through these little streams, and a lot of it's snowmelt as well. I actually feel more confident drinking out of this than I do just eating snow up on the mountain. Oh my God, it is so cold. My body is literally hurting right now. So I think what I need to focus on today is bringing my body temperature back up to a stable level before we actually go to sleep in our shelter tonight. It was a really good sleep last night, but seeing as I went for a swim in this freezing cold river, I'm gonna need to warm back up again. So I'm gonna stay by this fire for a little bit, move around, and as I'm trying to find some more animals in this crazy terrain, should warm me back up as well. So we were just tracking those kangaroos up to this big snowfield right here. And what we've found is an animal that I really want to get on the trail camera. So these tracks down here belong to deer. And by the looks of it, there was a fair few of them that came across this snowfield at some point today. Because it hasn't really snowed too much today. I reckon we're going to use one of these trees, set the trail cam up, and see if any deer walk past overnight. And hopefully later on tonight, when we go for a night walk through this crazy terrain, we might be able to spot a couple. Now the animal that we're looking for tonight is the wombat. Now this is an animal that I've filmed on several occasions before, mainly off the mainland down on Tasmania. There's so many of them that live down there that we've been lucky enough to encounter. But the thing is, I've never seen them in the snow before. So to actually see one of these animals in the snow would be so cool. Seeing their tracks and droppings everywhere. See if we can track one down. These are some big deer prints. Pretty fresh as well. He'd be around here somewhere. All right, we've made it back to camp. It's freezing cold, a lot colder than last night. So I'm gonna get the fire roaring, collect a bunch of firewood, and get in my sleeping bag. It's the last night out here in the snow. Tomorrow morning, we hike out of this place. Looks pretty good. Let's get in there. So today was light work. Today was fun compared to how much energy I used yesterday. Seriously, the most exhausted that I've ever been after a day of filming on this channel, which says something because we've been on some pretty wild adventures. Tomorrow, I have a lot of distance to cover before we get to the pickup point. We're gonna be hiking further down these mountain ranges, down this river, and get picked up by midday if all goes according to plan. It's nice to have dry feet tonight and a big fire going. We're gonna get another early night's sleep. Really cool day exploring today. Tomorrow we hike out of this place. All right, sun's coming up on our final day out here in these snowy mountains. It's another really nice morning. Got all my gear set up around here. We're gonna boil up some water before we actually get out of here. And we have a big hike ahead of us today. There's at least a few kilometers that I have to trek through the snow to get to the pickup point, but what a cool adventure. I feel like it would be a really cool adventure to come back and survive in the snow for longer. If that's something that you wanna see, let me know. But you should go check out all of the other survival videos in the different terrains that I've survived in here in Australia over the past decade or so of filming videos on YouTube. Just let that cool off for a sec. Let's finish off this pot of water and start hiking back out of here. I've got one last test for this survival shelter before we leave it out here. Let's see if it holds up. Thank you so much for watching this video. It genuinely means a lot to me. If you enjoyed the adventure, feel free to leave a like or share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like to support my journey and see where I head next, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next week in the next adventure.